is Daniel Cost. I am a developer. I work with data developer, so I do data and analytics for an insurance company currently. I've been with the company 4 years. So September 29th, 2016, I had a heart attack. I was 35 years old. Out of the blue, did not have a lot of the symptoms that you would have. So it was kind of a shock. I was actually here working, and it was about 5:30 in the evening. I was wrapping things up. Had a couple meetings and had some work I needed to finish up, and started getting some pains in my chest, and it felt like acid reflux. I felt like I just needed to burp, so I kept trying to burp. Well, that led to some sharp pain, led to really sharp pain, couldn't breathe, and for a couple hours I actually fought it off, which is not smart to do. So if you're listening to this and you have those issues come up, don't wait 2 hours to call an ambulance, because that's very important right now, if I can say anything. But so after about 2.5 hours, my jaw started hurting, and that's when I knew that something wasn't right. So I ended up going to the hospital. At first they didn't think I had a heart attack, but I was able to explain when arrhythmia was about to happen when I was in the emergency room, and so they kept me overnight. And about 4 in the morning, this happened. I was there about 9 o'clock at night in the ER. About 4 in the morning, the doctors rushed in, and they had seen some blood work. My level spiked, and they knew that I'd had a heart attack. They went in, did a cath, figured out that it was in my LAD and that widowmaker in the LAD artery and ventricle, whatever, and it severed, and it evidently had severed before, and then the blood clotted, and it blocked the entire artery, and then in the course of what was happening, a little bit busted through and opened up enough to let blood come through, so I didn't pass out and die. And I was able to fight through it. So the clot was a big issue, so I had to wait in the hospital for about 5 days for that clot to break apart and get small enough so I didn't stroke. They went in, they opened up my chest, they cut up my chest, they went in, put in a bypass for that, the LAD, and as a single bypass. And 4 days later, I walked out of the hospital and didn't look back. I was determined from the time that I knew I was gonna have to get opened up to when I was gonna have to be back into whenever I knew, up until I set goals throughout the whole thing, like what I wanted to get done, and I knew I was gonna just meet those goals, and nothing was gonna stop me. So I just kept going. But that's a life-changing event that sort of happened, that sort of sparked a big change in my life. One of the biggest at the beginning was just realizing how, even though I was a bigger guy, a lot that comes with being a bigger guy is that you can do a lot of things that bigger people can do, which is, I was a strong guy for a big guy. I may have looked fatter, but I still could lift and I could do everything, and I always felt like I was Superman in some sense. But when I got back home, coolest thing, my brother, who had been on his own weight loss journey, like during this time period, he was almost 70-80 pounds down, but he took me to the grocery store, and it was one of the very first times I realized what had actually happened, and what I was gonna have to go through for the next, and I still am going through, was I got a shopping cart and I started pushing it, and I put in a half carton of almond milk and some spinach and some chicken, and I'm starting to push this cart around, and I'm pushing this cart through the grocery store, and I just had to stop, and I couldn't push it anymore because it was so painful. And I realized then, like, how much I was going to have to go through just to get to a point where I'd come back to some sort of normalcy. And that was a big sort of blow to me, because I was feeling pretty high off of everything. Like, I'd gotten out of the hospital in 4 days, and like you know, I was walking pretty regularly, and like, you know, like I was breathing really well, and but when I realized that, and then, you know, just things around the house that you have to do, holding your milk carton while you're pouring milk, or I had a vent issue with my dryer, and I went to move the dryer, which you're not supposed to do. And when I did, I felt like this pop right here, and I was like, oh gosh. And it just was just very painful. Just things that I didn't think about, that I knew at that point how I may not have really realized up until that point how much of a journey it was going to be. Because I thought, well, I just get back in here and do it, and it was going to be a little bit. So that's probably one of them. I don't know. Some of the other ones were timidness on what to do when I got to the gym. Walking wasn't really an issue once I got started. I tried to just take more steps than the day before. One of the bigger things when I got to the gym was overcoming a fear of putting things over my chest, whether it be a bar, a loose weight, whatever it was. I didn't want to put anything really over it because it was a fear I had of just, you know, even though I knew it was fine, it still was protecting that. Just because I knew how painful it was to try to heal it up the first time, but I didn't want to do it again the second time. So those are some things that really were probably the hardest things to overcome. I found some videos about C.T. Fletcher, and when I started listening to C.T. Fletcher, I realized that there had been someone that had done it, and from having open heart surgery to, you know, he was on the deathbed 3 times. He coded out 3 times. He had to go through. It may have been a little bit different type surgery, but it still was open heart surgery. Saying he was crazy or not, he did it. And so I thought, well, it's been done before. It can be done. And so I just figured, well, I'm gonna take my greatest weakness at this point. I'm gonna turn it into my greatest strength, because that's what's going to show. If someone's looking around here saying, I don't think I can do this, I don't think I can. Well, here's an example of someone who had open heart surgery, went through this, and is still going through it every day, but still, you know, it has happened. It's 100 pounds. It's a third of what I weigh. A third is gone. It can be done. You just have to take 5 more steps than you did the day before. It's that easy, and then lift a little bit more each day.